Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Sunny Bitner. I'm sure you guys have heard me say this plenty of times, but I am from Spring Hill, Kansas, go to the University of Kansas, and I am from Lawrence, Kansas. It's a lot of Kansas. So you'll see here, Spring Hill and Lawrence aren't that far away. They're about 30 miles if you go along that yellow line, but they're very different. Spring Hill, its population was around 5,000 people. It was a very small, conservative, typical town. But Lawrence is about 100,000, so that was a big culture shock going there. It's also a very, very liberal town, especially for Kansas. And so just showing, where Kansas is. Not many people here are familiar with that. So that's where Kansas is. Thank you. All right. So before PGC, I used to be a computer science major because I cared more about money than I did about just about anything else. I thought that was the way to be successful. If you had a lot of money, you were doing something right. And so then I also learned that computer science is hard. They make it hard, so that way they know that you're dedicated to it. And I was not dedicated to it. So I had to really think about a year ago exactly if I really wanted to be doing that. I did not. I thought, what's the opposite of computers? What's the opposite of staying inside all day? It's going outside and being in nature. So I switched to environmental studies, and that's where I'm at now. But I was at this point a little doubtful about my career projection. I didn't know, I don't know if everybody else is going to think the way I do about the environment. I don't know if there's going to be anything I can do. I don't know if I can find a successful career. I might just be working in an office all day. Anyway, so really what I needed to find was I need to look at the possibilities for my future. So my thoughts on nature. I thought nature, I still do, think nature is amazing. But I didn't used to think that all of nature was amazing. I'm from Kansas, and I thought it was so boring. Which you guys might also be thinking right now. I thought that mountains and oceans were cool, but the closest mountain range is about 500 miles away from where I live. And the closest ocean is the Gulf of Mexico, and it's 800 miles away from where I live. So this was not a very realistic standpoint. So I need to get some new perspective. So during PGC, my transition from conventional to conscious, just a quick update, I guess. So for day 7 greenest, we had to write to a politician. I chose Kevin Yoder, who was then running as a Republican, and he's the incumbent, as the representative from my district, District 3. And I noticed on his website, he didn't have anything about environmentalism on there. He didn't say whether he was for or against it. He didn't have any opinions or insight there. So I asked him, hey, what's up with that, my man? And so I sent that as a digital letter online, and I got a response 2 weeks later on October 22nd. So just really quickly, this is Kevin Yoder. That's his picture there. So he started off, I believe that humans should be aware of their impact on the environment. And I thought that's a great perspective, my man. And then he goes on and he says, you can read through that quote, but he basically says, I think the government oversteps their bounds and is spending too much money. And I thought, wow, I think the exact opposite. So I was already kind of planning on not voting for him, but this definitely secured that. And so I got to vote against him for Sharice Davids, and he lost. Woo! So moving right ahead. So just some really quick reactions and impact here. My mom, she's a single mom. She's a lawyer. So she is very, very busy. I have to schedule phone calls with her. She's busy. So she's definitely a work in progress. She tells me that I balance out her negative actions. I think we should be responsible for our actions, but we're getting there. She voted for a Democrat for the first time in her life this past election. So that was definitely very cool. So my sisters, you can see there up at the top, that's Annabelle. She's 16. She's a junior in high school. And she wanted to do PGC with me, but she didn't think she had the time. So seeing me go through it, she really, really wants to do it next year. So watch out for her. So my youngest sister's name is Karma. She's 12 and a 7th grader. And that's her with her friend there, Annalisa. Karma in particular was very jealous of my clean canteen that I won. And she was telling people about my Instagram posts that I was making throughout PGC. So she was telling her friends this. And if you have siblings, they don't talk about you. And if they do, it's complaining. So hearing something positive from my younger sister going through middle school, we all know how awesome that is. She definitely surprised me. And here we see him kind of, going through some greener alternatives. And so my grandparents, this one was huge for me because my grandma especially learned a lot from my Facebook posts. And so I posted about the Stop Sucking campaign, getting rid of plastic straws. And so now she doesn't use plastic straws anymore. And that, yeah. So it was amazing to see her do that. So she also now shares like a lot of articles about different environmental issues and about different things you can do. And I'm like, way to go, Grammy. And so they stay in Florida a lot, both my grandparents do. And they see the effects of climate change down there as well as in our home state of Kansas. And so this has caused them to both vote for Democrats, like down ticket. And this is huge because even back like 3 years ago, they wouldn't have considered, for example, voting against Kevin Yoder. They wouldn't have done that, but they did this past election. And so it was amazing to hear that from them. So for my present and my future, so where I am now, I love all of nature now, even Kansas. Y'all might think it's boring still. I don't. I see beauty within it because I can keep my mind and my eyes open, observant, and I can see that all these landscapes are gorgeous because they're all connected with each other, which I just think is beautiful. And so I really want to protect all of nature now. One of my future career prospects I'll be getting into, but I really want to focus on protecting all of nature. So even these not so important spots that, not the gorgeous redwood forests or the beautiful mountain ranges, the glorious ocean, but even the wetlands in Kansas, the prairie lands, all of these areas, I want to protect them as well. So here I have some pictures that I took throughout PGC. It starts off at the very beginning of fall and goes until the beginning of winter. So you'll see October 2nd, there's a beautiful black-eyed Susan with a little moth on it. That's a little creek next to my apartment. I love stopping by there. It's a gorgeous tree outside of the building I work in. And then there's a beautiful fall area at the summer camp I work at. And then on November 8th, there was a snowstorm, ice storm. Wasn't too bad, but that was taken on campus, so I had to go home in that. And then November 12th, right before I left for here, it snowed again. So anyway, for my near future, so what my plans are, basically until after I'm done with college, I plan to keep learning, to keep improving, and to keep in touch. So I plan to keep learning about different ways that I can be better, making myself better, and then talking about people who are doing the same as me. I also want to go to the Environs meetings on campus because they're like the environmental group on my campus. And I have always been busy during their meetings. So next semester, that is like definitely my goal to go to those meetings so that I can spread more information. That's definitely a huge goal of mine because I've already seen a very big impact there. So I want to make sure I can make it even bigger. So after KU, I want to go to grad school. Not quite sure what for. But I want to do it because I want to take my knowledge and experience and I want to use it for good. I want to help the environment, protect those natural resources. So I can do this through conservation, through environmental education, even through sustainability, all these different possibilities. I now see them, especially after seeing all these magnificent speakers. I know that it's a possibility. So because of Project Green Challenge, I now have confidence in my degree choice. I know that doing environmental studies is going to pay off. I know that I can live and eat sustainably and healthy and actually afford to survive in other aspects of my life. I can think about my impact. This one has been very, very important to me. Thinking about the impact that I have on my environment, taking it from something negative, putting it into something positive. That's been very, very critical for me. So I just want to say thank you, PGC. PGC. Thank you.